Memphis. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Look up on the wall, there on the floor, under the pillow, behind the door.
Good morning. The curtain has come down on the Olympics and maybe Tigers basketball for this year as well. What a blizzard they've got going in the Northeast. First time in, I think, 3 decades, 30-some years, where they got like 20 inches of snow in Long Island, New York, over a foot in New York City, and more coming. Already we've got like 5,000 canceled planes. If you're traveling today, be patient, because you're not going anywhere in too big of a hurry, especially if it involves anything with the East Coast. Let's concentrate a little bit on the Tigers. I will let you know Mike DeCourcy is our guest today. Mondays, he's the middle guest. And then we talk, Landon Schmidt and I, in the first segment. We will give medals in our final segment of the day. And we begin with the Tigers basketball team. In the past, and I mean for a while, the University of Memphis has owned the UAB Blazers. Owned them. They had won 5 games in a row. Swept them last year, beat them last month handily in Birmingham. The Tigers had won 23 of the last 25 against UAB. They had won 18 straight in a row at home in FedEx Forum. That may go back. I haven't checked it, but they may go back all the way to the pyramid. Now, I will say UAB is a weird team. They are now 8-0 on the road in the conference, and 1-7 in the conference at home. They can't win at Bartow Arena yet, and the only one is Rice, and yet they go on the road and they beat everybody. Everybody haven't lost, and they didn't lose at FedEx Forum. But you own this team, and you got off to a good start. The Tigers led by 4 after 5 minutes. Now, it's not a big lead, that they're matching their threes, and this is a terrible shooting team, by the way, terrible. And yet they came out and they hit, I want to say, I know Chapman hit his first 6 shots. Here's a guy who had 3 points against the Tigers in Birmingham. He had 18 points. 18 points in the first half. It was going to be that kind of game. He was having a Sincere Parker in Birmingham kind of a game in Memphis. Tigers had the lead and then couldn't figure out their zone. Here's part of the reason why they couldn't figure out the zone. If you play the kind of zone that Andy Kennedy is playing, you've got to be able to go into the middle. You've got to have a guy inside who can score for you. Aaron Bradshaw tried to play. If you'll recall, in Tampa, he dislocated his elbow. He still tried to come back then. He couldn't do it. He tried to start this game. He played all of 48 seconds. It was very obvious to Penny and the coaching staff he could not play. He looked uncomfortable. When he left, it was that left arm was like dangled at a weird angle, which just tells you he didn't dislocate it again, but he was not in a good place with it. He played all of 48 seconds. So if you go in the middle and you're using guys that are really not that gifted offensively, you're going to turn the ball over. And that's exactly what happened. They had early turnovers that became points, and the Tigers could not score. And all of a sudden, there's 2 hot players. I mentioned Chapman. They've got a very good 6'6" point guard who's played at 2 different Power 4 teams. I think Syracuse and Auburn, if I recall correctly, on West Street. And he was eating them up too. He had I think he had double digits in the first half with 6 assists. He was pretty phenomenal. Those 2 jumped up and gave UAB a 16-point lead in the half. And in essence, the game was pretty much over. There was still fight in the team. This was not just letting go of the rope. The lead got cut to 3 with 5 minutes or so to go. So you're right back in it. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, maybe Memphis can do it. They own this team 18 in a row at FedEx Forum. No, that's not going to happen with this team, because you know what this team has never done all year long? They have never been able to come from behind and win. They don't know how to finish. Haven't done it all year. They blew the game against Wake Forest. That's the one that first comes to mind whenever you think about a team not being able to finish. They blew that game 3 different ways. That's still incredible to me. I don't know what would be different this year had they won that game. They had a chance against Purdue. Now, Purdue turns out to be not quite the team we thought they would be, but they're still a tournament team. They're still probably a top 6 seed team. The Tigers just can't figure out a way. And UAB could, and they pulled away to win 78-67. So, Landon, I'm going to want you to weigh in on this as well. Did you watch the game yesterday by any chance?
I did. I was keeping a pretty close eye on it, and it was, like you've been saying, kind of back to formula for Memphis. We start out hot, and then everything disappears. Then we mount a little bit of a comeback, and then that's it.
So, what has gone wrong with this team all year long? You're talking formulatic? That's what we'll discuss. Mm-hmm. What's wrong? Fouls. 19 of those yesterday. They average over 20. And they were outscored at the free throw line by 9 yesterday. That's not anything new. Coming into that game, the Tigers have 110 less attempts than the opposition. UAB, 171 more free throws than the opposition. So you kind of figured that would end up being the case, but it has been a problem, Landon, all year long. The University of Memphis has not been able to figure out how to defend without fouling. I've never seen a team this bad at it.
No, when your opponent is averaging over about, 22, 23 trips to the line, and you're barely getting up there 15 times, it speaks volumes. I mean, that's free points you're giving the other team. They tried. I mean, the game plan is simple of where they need to guard, but they just can't do it without fouling.
The second major flaw with this team, besides their defensive inefficiency with fouling, is shooting. They don't have a knockdown shooter. I think the best three-point shooting percentage on this team is about 35%. That's the best. 22% from 3 yesterday. If you're a team that does have some athletes that can slash to the hole, the only way to make a team pay if you overplay to stop the drive is to have a guy in a corner with a wide open jump shot. They don't have the guy that can finish that job. 22% three-point shooting yesterday. And then the other fatal flaw on this team is not taking care of the basketball. And unfortunately, the way Penny likes to play, top pace. Most of the time, teams that play that fast will turn the ball over more than other teams. But in Penny's case, especially this year, the turnovers are just a killer. 15 of them yesterday. They average over 15 turnovers per game. That's 15 possessions every game. You don't get a shot that you give away. And when you can't shoot and you're giving away 15 chances, you're in trouble. And then they're not a good defensive rebounding team either. Mm-hmm. So I think in the end, if we really are honest, it all begins with roster construction. There are no A players on this team. As much as I would like to say Bradshaw might end up being one. He's not. Availability is a part of the problem. He's fouled out of 7 games. He's always limited with minutes with foul trouble. Now he's got an injury, and I give him all the credit in the world. I think he has improved immensely. He's learned how to play inside. He's tried to get a physical mindset because he was always just a wing guy, didn't want to go in and mix it up. For his height and his athletic ability, he's the worst rebounder this side of Jaren Jackson Jr. But I give him credit because he's improved. But he's not an A player yet. He might be next year if he comes back here, or might be somewhere else. Wherever he goes, he's got a chance because he's 7'2", and he's got wingspan, and he can jump. I'd like to say that Doug McDaniel is an A player, but he's not. He's a good player, but he's not an A player. He's not a guy who's going to go in and create because he's just too small and not quite quick enough. And he does not possess a great shot. He's shooting in the 20s now from three-point range. And his production, as much as Bradshaw has improved, although yesterday Doug showed a little bit of flashes of the early Doug McDaniel, he's regressed as the season has gone on. So if we're being honest here, no A player, no PJ Haggerty, no Dane Danger from last year, no Kendrick Davis, KD, by the way, killing it in the Australian League, no David Jones, nobody. Like the Penny era has always had good players. Lester Quinones, I think, was an A player. Obviously, Jalen Duren. And Monty Bates was a prize get. Precious Achua, who will be in town tonight with Sacramento. Those were A players. There's not one of those on this team. So for next year, when you're talking about roster construction, you've got to make better use of your NIL money. And the NIL money, though, it's not a Power 4 team's money. It's as good as it gets in the American. And yet you're under 500 by 2 games now in the American. It's the first time your team could finish under 500, and the way things are going, you will, since Johnny Jones in 99-2000, 26 years ago. So you've got to spend your money wisely, especially when you've got it. You've got to find players that fit for your culture. So I hope that Penny, who has relied on some other people. Let's be honest, Rick Stansbury put a couple of good teams together. It's not like Penny has not listened to other guys about personnel before. He needs a general manager that will help him do that will scour all those pros that are legal to come over from Europe, from France, from Germany, from anywhere. And then you got to get guys that are mid-major guys that are really good that you can lure over with money. You're going to lose out on some because the Power 4 might identify them, but there's enough to go around to fit your culture. And as far as Penny goes, I know it's disappointing. 1 tournament win in 8 years. Now, this year's not over, but let's be honest, mathematically, the Tigers are as close to not making the American tournament, in other words, 11th place, as they are to getting a double bye now. They're not going to get triple bye. Pretty much mathematically, that ain't going to happen. Tulsa's already got a tie break on them. They could knock off Wichita and South Florida, but I don't think it would be enough. If they go 4-0, they might be in the mix, but they're going to lose on tie breaks, I think. At least with Tulsa. And Tulsa's got an easy road the rest of the way. So I don't see them getting a triple bye, but they still could get the double bye. They're as close to the double bye as they are to being eliminated. Although Rice losing yesterday in the 11th spot now has 9 losses. I said 2 games under. They're even Steven in the American now, as I recall. I'm pretty sure I got to double check that. What's their record in the American right now?
Which team?
Memphis.
Let's see.
I think they're 500. But now they're 3 games under 500
Yeah,
all
they're
told.
down there. In conference, they're at 500,
Yeah.
7-7.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Because they got 4 games to go.
Tied with Temple.
Yeah, and they do have a tiebreak on Temple.
Mm-hmm.
But if you think about it mathematically, they're as close as double bye as they are to not getting in, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. But I'm going to go back to Penny. It would seem to me that if I were Ed Scott and I were weighing all the variables, I would have to say, wait a second, just a year ago, this guy won the regular season. He won the conference championship. He was the coach of the year. He won 29 games. He won one of the hardest non-conference schedules ever, beat top 25 teams, beat coaches that are considered Hall of Fame type coaches. And he's done that his entire tenure. I would think that 1 year last year would give you a year's grace. The one thing that worries me, even though I will tell you, and I mentioned this to Penny on our postgame show yesterday, while I'm at my perch or walking down, 3 different sets of fans stopped me and said, please tell Penny we love him. There is still some support for Penny. Now, in all objectivity and honesty, and I'm pushing because I don't believe Penny deserves to be removed. I think he deserves another year to rebuild and see what he can do. But fans in the stands, they usually have a vote. And the last 5-6 home games, now the ice storm played a role in this, but the last 5 or 6 home games, they have been sparsely attended. That's just a fact. I don't even know the true numbers. That's a fact. But I think if we did, they would not be pretty. And that is the one thing that always coaches have to worry about. I know Tubby Smith, that was the biggest excuse they used in all of that. So, I think realistically this year pretty much is regroup for next year. Unless they go 4-0 and they make a run and they win 3 games in 3 days in Birmingham. And honestly, I've kind of run out of that hope. If you're just any kind of realistic person, there's been 2 or 3 times where you thought, okay, this team has turned the corner. But now there's no corner to turn. You see what they are. They are what they are. As a former coach used to say, John Calipari, it is what it is, and they are what they are. And so now you got to start regrouping. Any quick thoughts on that, and then we're going to turn to the Olympics.
No, I think that's kind of where we're at after seeing that game. Everything that you just said is basically what I was saying to myself. Is basically I feel like that's it for this season. Unless you see some kind of miracle turnaround happen, which I don't see happen. You've seen like we mentioned, the formula of this year, kind of the reputation that this Tiger team has is they can go out and they can get a win, maybe 2 in a row, but then it's back to what they've been doing all year long. So 4 wins in a row, haven't seen it this year, and we're not going to see it this year. So I think that's the reality of the situation. So it's kind of put a bow on this one and look to next year.
Your 4 losses in a row, second time this year, is what you have seen.
That's the only consistency you have is as far as streaks go.
All right, real quick, and we'll get maybe more into this in medals. But the Olympics, what a spectacular success they were. The American results were the best they've ever had. Now, in all honesty and objectivity, there's more events than they've ever had before. They had 116 medal events. Boy, did NBC do a good job. I've talked about the tech and everything else. I didn't realize this till Mike Tirico, who did an outstanding job. Mike Tirico was terrific. And that ain't an easy job, especially when you're preparing for a Super Bowl at the same time. He was super Tirico. but they had 3,000 people as a part of their production between where their headquarters were for this. And I think they had them somewhere in Connecticut. They didn't have them at NBC in New York. They had a separate place for all their people there. And they also had a bunch of people, 1,000, whatever it was, in Milan. But they did an unbelievable job. So now the flame is handed over to France. It'll be all the way from the Alps to Nice in the south. That'll be the largest square miles. This was like, I can't remember. I think they said it was 8,500 square miles, the difference where they had Cortina and Milan and how they put it together. This will be even bigger. The winners for this year in the Olympics, in my estimation, both USA hockey teams, they'll get goals from me. The great performance by the charismatic Alyssa Liu, Jack Hughes, and Connor Helbeck, the goalie. Hughes with the winning goal. Morgan Keller, the winning goal for the women's team that knocked off Canada. Michaela Schifrin, who is the greatest slalom skier ever and finally was able to show it in an Olympics. She got gold. John Stoltz, who won 3 in speed skating. How about this? The Elena Myers-Taylor story. She's the 41-year-old mom that won the singles in the bobsled and then handed the medal to her little boy. That was a winning moment. And then you have to think of Johannes Hosflat Klæbo. And I probably have butchered that name, and I think that's it. Klæbo won 6 gold medals in cross-country skiing. That Norwegian was part of the reason why the final medal column went Norway, 41 with 18 gold medals. The USA, their best ever Olympics in the winter, 33 medals, 12 gold. And Italy, the home country, the hosts always do great. They had 30 medals with 10 gold. It was really terrific. One last note before we take the break and bring in Mike DeCourcy. The Grizzlies host Sacramento tonight. They're 4.5-point favorites. Ja, I guess we'll find out next week what the update is on him. How are they going to work that? Because you get punished if you don't play players for tanking. What will Adam Silver do about the Ja situation? And we'll see a bunch of I guess of Gigi Jackson and Prosper, those kind of guys tonight.
It's almost a Memphis Hustle game again.
Yeah, well, get used to that because that's what they want. That is what they want. This portion of the show brought to you by the commissary. You know the commissary, both in Germantown and in Collierville. You voted it in a competition the Commercial Appeal had last year with like a Sweet 16 or a round of 32 all the way down to the finals of barbecue. You guys voted. You said either way, it was the commissary, Germantown or Collierville. And right now in Collierville, every day, Monday through Friday, there's a lunch buffet. You get 3 proteins. There's always chicken and pork, 5 sides, salad, and a drink. You get it for under $16. It's a heck of a deal. I'm telling you, this is the place for little parties together. It's just great tasting, great prices, and as you say, it's the #1 barbecue in Memphis. That is in Germantown. That is in Collierville. Go check it out. Tell them we sent you. And head on over to Family Leisure until the end of the month. That floor model spa sale is happening where you can really get deep discounts. I'm not kidding. On either cold plunge, that's the newest thing. Swim spas, in-stock hot tubs. If it's in stock, it's a floor model. You get an unbelievable discount. You'll love it. So if you've been dreaming of a new spa, now's the time to get to I-40 and Whidden Road. Tell Billy, tell Lindsay we sent you. You might get something special at Family Leisure. We're back with Mike DeCourcy in just a minute.
You have opinions?
I think it's over.
Of course you do.
I don't think it's that simple.
Everyone does.
I got all the answers.
Hit us up on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 360-8255.
Running a business is hard enough, but cleaning a business? Your time's too valuable for that. You need Hilo Commercial Services, dedicated professional cleaners with 15 years of cleaning experience. Hilo customizes your cleaning needs, and you get the JRD guarantee. We clean until you're satisfied. Shopping center, retail spaces, medical, legal offices, Hilo cleans it all. Visit MrCleanTeam.com. That is MrCleanTeam, MrCleanTeam.com for Hilo Commercial Services.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporting luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Tito's Handmade Vodka is America's favorite vodka for a reason. From the first legal distillery in Texas, Tito's is 6 times distilled till it's just right and naturally gluten-free, making it a high-quality spirit that mixes with just about anything. From the smoothest martinis to the best Bloody Marys, Tito's is known for giving back, teaming up with nonprofits to serve its communities and do good for dogs. Make your next cocktail with Tito's. Distilled and bottled by 5th Generation Incorporated, Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume. Savor responsibly.
Hi, folks. Bill Russell at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. And a couple of weeks ago, a gentleman came in and bought his wife a beautiful diamond bracelet for Valentine's Day. As I wrapped it up, he asked me, Bill, how long have we been doing this? Well, he and I both thought backward to when he bought his engagement ring for me in 1971, and we did the math. And the answer to the question was 55 years ago. Then we talked about some 24 years later when his son got married and Russell Brothers Jewelers had just the right ring for his bride. Then this past Christmas, I had the pleasure of meeting his grandson and we found the perfect gift for his girlfriend. At Russell Brothers, we take great pride in the multi-generational families that we serve, and we are humbled by their loyalty. So how do we do it? Easy answer, folks, and one I'm proud of. Beauty, quality, value, and service. And we would love the opportunity to share them with you at Russell Brothers Fine Jewelers. Come see us at 4646 Poplar at Perkins.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
We're headed to Pittsburgh momentarily. Our friend from the Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy, is going to join us. He's brought to you by the Memphis Tourism and Convention and Visitors Bureau. Did you know tourism and hospitality in Memphis and Shelby County paid over $1 billion in wages to nearly 50,000 local employees, with most of those wages being reinvested back into our local economy? The tourism and hospitality industry, along with its large workforce, it's vital to ensuring the continued growth and the success of our local economy. Memphis Tourism and the Memphis Sports Council, that's a winning combination, working year-round to bring visitors and sporting events to our community that help fan the flames of economic development in Memphis and Shelby County. And every week they bring you the one and only Mike DeCourcy. Mike joins us now. Are you safe? Are you okay? Is that northeaster affecting anything in Pittsburgh?
I asked my wife this morning when she told me about it, how did it get to New Jersey without going through us?
Because it's coming from the ocean, buddy. It's an Atlantic thing.
Well, there you go. Well, it just seems like, well, then it would be coming from Tennessee, and it's not snowing down there. So I don't know. I'm obviously not a meteorologist, but I was happy to know that we had no such issues.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, because those hills in Pittsburgh can be very treacherous. I know that from past experience. Okay, we had an unreal weekend. It seemed at the same time, Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Houston, Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Iowa State, BYU, where DeBenso went crazy. I mean, this was a heck of a weekend, huh?
It really was. It was a wonderful weekend. I thought that we saw a lot of great college basketball because of the fact that the major conferences were smart. They looked at, and they were also prescient, because they said, okay, who are going to be our good teams, and let's try to get as many of those games after the Super Bowl and after the college football playoff as we possibly can. And the Big 12 got it right. Houston, Iowa State, Arizona, BYU, Kansas. Big 10 got it right with Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, Wisconsin. Those teams all very good. So it's worked out for a lot of intersection. And then there was the Michigan-Duke game, which was very interesting. And it's funny because one of the things that drives me just most bonkers in all of sports media is when two teams that are really good play and somebody in sports media is compelled to say, this is like an Elite Eight game. And I'm like, no, it's not, because tomorrow's not the Final Four. This is a game in February, and when it's over, they're going to have 5, 6, 7 more, and no one's going to send them home and say, okay, go lift. That's not how it works. And I saw that about the Michigan-Duke game. This was like March, and I'm like, I was struggling to find out what it meant. I was struggling to figure out what did that game mean. Because, they're both going to be number one seeds unless one of them puts together an absurdly unprecedented collapse. They're both so good that they're not likely to lose to multiple or 3 or more conference opponents. That's not going to happen. I mean, it took till February for Michigan to lose its second game. They're not going to lose 3 more now. And so I was looking at it, and I'm like, well, Michigan can probably learn a lot from this, and Duke can have some affirmation about what they need to be great. And they did some things. I did a piece for a show we call Big Time Hoops on FS1, and talked to some people at Duke about what they need, and they need to see more aggression from Caleb Foster and better perimeter shooting in terms of the willingness to take those shots and taking high quality shots. And it's exactly what we saw after I did that piece from Duke. But it didn't change anything. Duke's still going to be a 1. Michigan's still going to be a 1. Duke's still going to be the 1 in the East. Michigan's still going to be the 1 in the Midwest. So it was nothing like a March game. It was just a good game.
I do love the intensity. I think we're learning Arizona's so good to beat Houston the way that they were able to. Tennessee's got some pieces that are really good. Ament is so good. I guess maybe my biggest question for you is, and I'm going to ask you, you've written a piece about Darren Peterson, but I want to get to with Peterson, with Wilson, with Acuff at Arkansas, with Ament. There are just so many good freshmen this year. Give me your top 3. How would you rank the top 3 freshmen?
In terms of their talent and who should go in the draft or their production,
however you see it.
Oh, come on! You got to give me a parameter on that.
Okay, let's go, because people love to see who might be going to Memphis and the Grizzlies in the long run. How do you view them as potential NBA players?
Well, I think if Peterson is a baller, and I don't mean a talent, I mean somebody that lives the game in the way that the best players do, and he hasn't established that. I mean, DeBonsa has. DeBonsa has shown time and again. 3 a.m., hey, AJ, wake up, we got a game. He's like, where are we going? Let's go hoop. That's the way he has been his entire career. He played, and this is very rare, he played USA basketball at the 16, 17, and 19 level. That's very rare for athletes to give up three out of 4 summers to do that. Him, no problem. That's what he wants. So, if I, as someone who lived in Indianapolis for 10 years, and my wife kind of fell in love with the Pacers while we were there after kind of eschewing the NBA for most of her life, if I had the best, for me, the Pacers, I would like to see them get AJ DeBonsa. That's the guy that I just know is going to be a great NBA player. Now, if Darren Peterson is one of those guys, and you become convinced he's one of those guys that's spending his summers after he earns $30 million, $50 million, $100 million, $1 billion in LeBron's case, if you are convinced he's one of those guys spending his summers in the gym at least a couple hours a day, working out, if he's one of those guys, he's the guy. He has the ability to attack offensively. That is at the KD, Kobe. I'm going to exclude the one guy from this conversation because that's dangerous territory. But KD and Kobe and those kinds of players, he's that level of talent. And I mean, he is extraordinary when the ball is in his hands and he's confident and healthy and all that. He can just do just about anything you'd want him to do. Drive it all the way to the rim and finish. Yep. Take a couple of bounces and find room for a three-pointer. He did it twice in the final 90 seconds against Texas Tech and beat them. Drive to a pull-up at the foul line through traffic. Yep, he can do that. There isn't anything he can't do offensively. Defensively, it's not probably never going to be great, but can be exceptional if he commits to it. So that'd be the guy. And then Boozer's a tricky one for me because I think he's a situation guy. He either goes to a bad team and averages 24 and 12, or he goes to a team that's just right and is just built for him, and he maybe averages 20 and 9, but he's a winner.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Peterson, and I've always preached this. The best ability any athlete can have is availability. You've written a story about it. I think Dick Vitale came out and said, separate yourself.
I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, that was a little overreach. I would agree with you. But Darren Peterson is not always available, which might fit perfectly in the NBA, to be honest. Give me your sense of that.
Well, I spoke to a high-level NBA personnel executive in advance of writing that piece, and to a bunch of other people who are connected to the NBA at a high level. And there is a significant concern within the league. Now, that may not be universal. I may there be somebody out there that's in that lottery picture that says, I don't care. We'll get him. He'll be fine. And I certainly can't say that there aren't. But I know that there is a significant level of concern within the league. What the one person I spoke to told me was, when you have to be 100% to play, that's a big concern. You talk to NFL players, and 100% happens like maybe on the first day of training camp, and then from there it's just a question of what you can tolerate and what won't get you hurt worse. And the NBA is certainly not the collision sport that the NFL is, but you're playing if you have a great year, you're going to play 100 plus games, 100 plus games, because you got 82 in the regular season.
8
and then
exhibition, and then playoffs.
And then, but the the exhibition, you're just bouncing around out there. But the playoffs, like, you're going hard. And if you make the finals like the Thunder and Pacers did this past year, and that's a lot of wear and tear. And we've seen what it's done to the Pacers this year. They came back. They lost Halliburton in last year's finals, but they came back thinking that they were going to be basically what the Celtics are this year. No Jason Tatum, but we're still going to be good. Maybe not quite that good, but still going to be a factor. And then guys started to go down in this year, and now they're in the lottery picture. So it is a hard grind. And if you aren't getting through the college grind, which is at most 40 games, and that includes your playoffs, then there are significant concerns at the NBA level about whether or not you can do that. And there's plenty of evidence of guys who were highly coveted and have been really significant NBA players, but haven't been able to stay on the floor and have been frustrations for their teams, whether it's Ben Simmons, who didn't arrive with any particular injury concerns out of college, but there were questions about his engagement, and he's had problems. Zion, there were questions about whether or not he could carry that body through multiple NBA seasons. He hasn't changed the body, and he struggled to stay on the floor. Joel Embiid came in with leg issues and missed the first 2 years and has been sporadic since as well. I think that the stat I had was basically that Zion might have hit 70 games once and that Joel never has, or vice versa. I don't have it in front of me now, but they don't play a lot relative to what you would want in the NBA. And so that is a concern for whoever has, like, if you have the first round pick and you know that A.J. DeBonta is going to go for you every time, or you have this and you have to do a lot of research and, okay, so what is the problem that's kept him off the floor? Could he have fought through it more? It's really hard to know. And that's the question that whoever gets one is going to have to ask.
Yeah, I agree. Nobody probably in the media would know Mick Cronin as good as you would know him. You covered him when he was at Cincinnati, and he made headlines twice this week. One for thinking one of his players had basically made a dirty play on an attempted dunk. He found out it really wasn't as dirty as he wanted, and he took a flagrant one and really made it a flagrant two on his own player, and then made a jerk of himself, I thought, with other media members in the press conference. And then he turns around and then upsets Illinois yesterday. He's been outspoken about the schedule and everything else. Give me your sense of what Mick Cronin is like these days.
Yeah, I think he's been frustrated this year by this team because he thinks it should be better. They haven't played with the commitment that especially at the defensive end, that has always been a trademark of Mick Cronin's teams, and he's been at it now for well more than 20 years. And almost all his teams have been terrific defensively, and I think that's been a frustration for him. I think that if the Providence St. John's game hadn't happened the previous Saturday, and if it hadn't happened to St. John's, I would suspect, because Rick Pitino had been a mentor of his, that I don't know that he would have reacted in the way that he did. But I think he saw a contagion coming on. He was at the opposite end of the floor and probably thought that it was worse than it was. And I think he could have just said, you know what, get to the end of the bench, you're not playing anymore, and that would have been fine. And then after the fact could have seen that the video and thought, yeah, you know what, that was basically just an F1. It was an F1. It was a flagrant one foul.
Right.
It was called that, and I think it was called that fairly. But it would have been fine to just say, that's it, man. The bench is yours. You can watch the rest of the night, and then we'll have a conversation after. That would have been a fine. I didn't have a problem with what... I mean, do we have a minute for me to tell you a story?
Sure. Real quick. Just do me this favor. Remind me next week. I want to talk, because we're out of time. I want to talk about getting eligibility through court cases and this thing that is called restitution by the NCAA. I want to get into that with you. But give me your story.
All right. So 1982, I am covering Major League Baseball. I'm 22 years old. And covering Major League Baseball, my first beat, and Chuck Tanner is the manager of the Pirates, won the World Series in '79.
White Sox guy, too.
Yeah, nicest man in the history of baseball, like the sweetest guy. But he believed in his players, and it was a Saturday night, New York. So when we got down to the press conference, where in his not a press conference, but we just would go into the manager's office, and there were probably 7 of us, and it was some from New York and the other the guy from the Pittsburgh other guy from the Pittsburgh paper, and so there had been a situation that was pivotal. Wally Backman, fairly light hitting second baseman for the Mets, hits a ball to deep center field. Omar Moreno, one of the fastest men in the history of baseball, ran after it, in my opinion, about as quickly as I would get there, and it changed the game. They end up losing on that hit, and so I went down to the office, and when I got a chance to ask a question, I said to Chuck, and this is exactly how I phrased it. I was trying to be as diplomatic as possible. Chuck, did you have any trouble with the way Omar played Backman's ball? That's all I said. And he said, no, we always play Backman in. And I said, that's not what I meant. And then he knew what I meant, and he yelled at me for 5 minutes.
No.
And, I mean, he just like you did not question the effort of his players for some 22-year-old sports writer. And he liked me, and we were fine, but he reamed me for 5 minutes. And it's just, there was no social media then. There was no video. There was no Twitter, all that stuff. It was just him yelling at me and me taking notes on how he was yelling at me. I mean, and he's not the only one who ever did that. Joe Paterno got me once on a question that wasn't very good. I mean, I thought I knocked that question out of the park. I couldn't have been, like, I asked Paterno once about whether he was surprised by anything from East Carolina after, East Carolina's a mid-major. Penn State's supposed to be a top 10 team, and I asked him something like, are you surprised? Were you surprised by anything East Carolina brought to you today, or something like that? And he pounded the table. You guys drive me absolutely up a wall. And I'll take a little bit of heat for that because it wasn't a great question. But it this is part of the business. And why does it? Like, could Mick have maybe not said, "Are you raising your voice to me?" I guess he could. But like, why is this such a big deal? I mean, that was 40 years ago, and both of those instances were relatively 40 years ago. It's been going on forever. Have you ever heard the Lasorda rant?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like,
and the Elia rant too.
Yeah. Oh, the Lasorda rant. If anybody hasn't heard it, try to find it on YouTube. It is the funniest thing you will ever hear. I would imagine the guy who was on the other end of that wasn't having the best time, but we've been laughing about it now for 40 years. Mix wasn't as funny as Lasorda's was, but it's part of the business as long as it doesn't get physical. And if that reporter wants to think Mick a jerk or whatever, he probably there was one college basketball coach who mocked a question of mine and by saying, "Well, obviously," and it was really nasty, in tone. And I've never had a great feeling about that coach ever after that. But I just don't know why we have to make such a fuss.
It part of it was because it was captured on camera and shown by ESPN, no doubt about it. And Mike, it's always a pleasure talking with you. We appreciate it. We'll do it again next week.
Thanks very much, Dave.
Thank you. That's Mike DeCourcy, brought to you by Memphis Tourism and the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and in part by Cadillac of Memphis. And you know when I say Cadillac, I'm talking Landers, the best place to go. The grand opening done. I don't think there's even any more 2024 Escalades, but if there are, you could save $20,000 in total savings. You ought to go see how much you can save with the Landers Easy Pass at CadillacofMemphis.com. Don't miss out on anything. You know they always pay top dollar for trades. The best new Cadillac models sail out of there. They go fast. And remember, if it doesn't say Landers, you paid too much. We take a break. We got a shortened edition of Metals coming your way in just a minute on this Monday edition of Wolo and Friends.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders, your roofing and restoration resource. With single-digit temperatures and ice moving in, frozen pipes and ice dams don't give you much time to react. A busted pipe can flood walls, ceilings, and floors in minutes. And the real damage is often hidden behind drywall, insulation, and cabinets. That trapped moisture can lead to mold fast. Right now, Metro Builders Memphis is delivering immediate emergency water mitigation and response day or night. We can stop the water, document the damage, and help prevent long-term issues before they spread. If you see water stains, sagging ceilings, or active leaks, don't wait. Call us before mold spores spread. Call me, 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717. Metro Builders, your roofing and restoration resource. Metro Builders, we don't just build, we build world class. Book us online at metrobuildersmemphis.com. metrobuildersmemphis.com.
The 2025 Range Rover Sport sits right at the heart of the Land Rover lineup, offering a perfect mix of style, performance, and versatility. Smaller and more agile than a full-size Range Rover, it's a great option for everyone who wants luxury and practicality. Every model comes with 8-speed automatic transmission and all-wheel drive standard. Whether you navigate city streets or tackle rough terrain, Range Rover Sport has you covered. Every drive is powerful and breathtaking. The 2025 Range Rover Sport is the epitome of sporting luxury. Test drive one at Jaguar Land Rover Bluff City.
Taxes was feeling so stuck. Sitting in traffic, squeezing into a parking spot, all to squeeze in getting tax help during your lunch break. Now Taxes is a TurboTax expert who does your taxes for you, while you go about your day getting real-time notifications about their progress and the most money back guaranteed. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Only available with TurboTax experts. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app.
I'm everything that is
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Metals coming your way, brought to you by Southern Security. You need cash, you can refinance your auto loan with Southern Security. You won't have a payment for 60 days. Southern Security will finance up to 115% of the current value of your vehicle for up to 72 months. Find out how you can put some cash in your pocket. Just call a service member. It's easy. You talk to a human at 901-452-7900, or you can apply on the website at southernsecurity.org. Southern Security, your home team credit union, voted the best the last 6 years, federally insured by NCUA. We do a thing on Mondays. We call them precious metals. I got to give a bronze to Jaylen Brown, 32 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. In the great rivalry, the Celtics and the LA Lakers 111-189. Boston, without Jason Tatum, thinking they were going to be near the bottom, not even make the play-in. They're second place in the East, 37-19. Even LeBron James was pulling for Jaylen Brown to be in the MVP discussion. I thought that was pretty good. I got to give a bronze medal to the LA Lakers for making in bronze Pat Riley. A big statue, a 580-pound statue of Riley in an Armani suit. 4 titles in the 80s as the head of the Lakers. Then he was great with the Knicks, and of course he was great and still is as president of the Miami Heat. 1 titles there. Quite the guy, Pat Riley. Silver medal, Jacob Bridgman. He had quite the day. He held on after he almost blew a 7-stroke lead. Held on to win the Genesis. That's a signature of that. That means $4 million for the second-year pro. It's his first tournament win to do that at Riviera. Getting the trophy handed to him from Tiger Woods. Wow. Quite the way. And by the way, he just got married 2 months ago. That's a heck of a wedding present for his wife. Huh? And then gold to the Olympics, to the NBC crew, to the USA hockey teams, to Clabo, to the hosts, the Italians. They put on quite the show, and they did it, as we said, 8,500 square miles. I mean, really incredible how they did this with 2 different areas, Milan and Cortina. It geographically is just, I don't know how you do that. And they did it with, I just thought they were great hosts. There was no trouble. There was no controversies of any kind. Just really go, well, maybe in the figure skating, looks like the American pairs got kind of screwed. Video shows it. The French judge should be tossed out of any kind of dealings there. But for the most part, I mean, just wonderful. The saddest moment, obviously, was Lindsey Vonn, but so many great moments, as I mentioned earlier, the stars of this game, the Clabo from Norway, and they know what a little country, and they win 41 medals, 18 gold. The Hughes brothers, the women's hockey team. I mean, the Schifrin story of redemption, the Lindsey Vonn story of just cruelty, that was just unlucky that her pole hits that thing, because I think at her age she still would have finished on the podium. She's still that good, and obviously that was quite the injury, because she's had to have several operations, and it wasn't just on the leg. So let's hope that she comes back to full 100% off. I got a feeling she will, but these Olympic Games were everything they lived up to. We got 2 years with Summer Games. I love the way they stagger them now. They're not all in the same year, and every 2 years you're going to get something great. But I really love the Winter Games. I don't know how many do. I think the Olympic numbers are really good, but we don't watch them. We don't watch ski racing. We don't watch curling for sure, except for every 4 years. And I loved it.
Yeah, it was a really good show. Well, I also am giving a bronze medal to the Celtics, but I'm going to give one to Peyton Pritchard, who put on a pretty nasty ankle breaker against Vando in their win, 111-89, as you mentioned. And as you also mentioned, the Celtics kind of a sneaky team. I did predict that they would still make the playoffs this year, which I got some crazy looks when I did because of them missing Jason Tatum, because of the lack of production. But now, number 2, I mean, this is a sneaky good team that you got to watch out for. I'm going to give another bronze medal to Michigan State. They get a key conference win over Ohio State, which after the game, Tom Izzo gave a great and special shout out to Bruce Thornton, who dropped 32 in their loss, saying it's a privilege to have him in the league and in this conference. Now, it's easier to say something like that when you pick up a win. If you were to lose, I'm pretty sure it would be a little bit of a different story there. But still, a great conference win for Michigan State as they continue to roll on. Silver medal, I'm giving it to LaMelo Ball, who is playing incredibly well. Now, against a bottom-dwelling team like the Wizards, you would expect a better team to go out there and perform really well. But still, in one quarter, LaMelo Ball put up some incredible numbers. He totaled 37 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists in that game. He's playing a really good basketball right now, and it's really fun to watch him on the court. Silver medal to the Warriors and Nuggets game that did not disappoint. Jokic had yet another triple-double, 35 points, 20 rebounds, 12 assists, but Brandon Podziemski put on a great performance as well, 18 points, 15 rebounds, 9 assists to complete a comeback to win over the Nuggets. That was a really great game. And on the topic of great games, how about that ending to the Kentucky-Auburn game this past weekend? Lots of missed shots, lots of missed opportunities from the Auburn team, but an offensive shove from Kentucky gives Auburn the ball. 2 misses later and a nice little putback. They end up winning the game by 1 point over Kentucky. So kind of weird that that's an upset win considering what we saw last year and how Auburn was number 1 in college basketball. And now, they're, 3 games over 500 right now. So very interesting right there. And of course, my gold has to go to just USA Hockey, the gold medals that they won all around for the Winter Olympics, how women's and men's hockey alike both defeat Canada to take home the gold. Really exciting stuff this year, just echoing everything you said about how the Olympics were set up this year. It was a really fun watch. Greg Aston, I know, is highly against the curling because it seemed to be on every single time you turned on the TV.
I said it earlier, too much of it.
And it really seemed like they just loved having the curling on the TV.
They must do good numbers. That's all that I can say.
Yeah.
Real quick, French judge, she should have been tossed. She gets a rust, and also like a tough one for Tyler Halliburton. He's out with an Achilles. He's got shingles now. I thought first of all, I got the shingles shot. I got 2 of them. And you got to think about that when you get older. I thought it only happened in older people. Very painful, very debilitating. Yeah. Halliburton's got shingles to go with a bad Achilles.
Wow, that's bad. My one and only rust goes to Nathan McKinnon, who after the gold medal match for Canada said, "You be the judge of who the better team was." Well, Nathan, it was pretty clear who the better team was. It was Team USA, the team that scored most points and won the gold medal. So
I do get his take.
I get it too.
I think Canada dominated. The Americans got fortunate. But you know what? It's who scores the final goal in overtime.
The better team won the game.
There you go.
They won gold medal.
And that is the medals for today, brought to you by Sheldon. Do you ever wonder where your doctor goes when he or she gets sick, or where your dentist goes when they get a toothache? Same thing with Sheldon Rosengarten. When there are agents that retire, not in the business, they go to him, or they send their old clients to go to him because he's got the strategy. That successful strategic marketing program that means the difference in what you make and how long it might take. And I'll tell you something, he's the guy that works it from your first meeting all the way to the closing table. He's by your side 24/7 to answer questions and guide you down the path to a successful transaction. You get to the closing table quicker, you get more. What more do you need? Call him. Get the job done. The number's 483-0546, or do like the other pros do. You can email him at memphisrelocate.com. The number, 483-0546, or do what the other professionals have done. They email at memphisrelocate.com. That is our Monday full show tomorrow. Usual suspects. We'll see you then. Johnny Radio's next. Have a great day, everyone.